Namaste. Welcome back to the Ilonggayogi podcast. My name is Kate and I'm from Iloilo City. I'm the founder of Healing Iloilo, where I teach daily yoga classes, and the founder of Mental Health Iloilo, a community that supports mental health awareness in Iloilo City. I share content on yoga, mindfulness, fitness, mental health, self-care, and healing. Before we get into this episode, I want to invite you to my classes at Molo Mansion. So if you're interested in taking a class with me, just head over to Healing Iloilo's Facebook page to book a class. Hello and welcome back to all of us. I'm back, and if you're a listener or a past listener, then welcome back to you as well. If you're new to this podcast, it's so good to have you here. I am back after a needed break. I really needed to take some time off just to figure out everything, figure out my life. But like I mentioned in the last episode, I felt like I didn't have much to say anymore. And given that podcasts are basically a space for us to just like share and speak up, I really felt like I didn't have much to say. I felt like I was silenced. But so I needed that break. On a serious note, like I needed to take a break and just like take a step back from everything, figure out what was I gonna talk about next, because I really did like genuinely feel like I felt like I didn't know anything. I was at a point when I recorded that last episode where I really felt like I am no one, like I am nobody. I don't have anything, I don't have anyone, I don't know anything, more of like just like detaching from everything that I used to know, that I thought I knew, that everything that I used to be, everything that I was. That's kind of where I was. And I guess in a way, it was like I was stripping away my old self, my past self, and letting that go. And that's why I felt like I had nothing, I had no one, I was nobody. I genuinely felt that way. And so that's why I needed to like pause for a bit and just like figure out what's next, figure out what was going to be the next chapter. But honestly, I knew that it wasn't the end. Like I wanted to come back eventually, but like have a fresh new season, like a fresh new chapter. I just didn't know what that chapter was going to be. So after taking this break, I feel like now, moving forward, it's kind of my time to really be even more vulnerable and raw, because I feel like in the last season I definitely held back a bit, because of course I knew that it was like I was trying my best to be as civil and respectful as possible. But then again, like I was just doing that for the sake of others, not really for myself. And so that's why like this time around, it just like came to me. It was like a light bulb moment a few days ago. And I told myself, this time around, I should just like be as honest and real as possible. Of course, still in a respectful manner, like both for like in a professional manner, I would say, like both for my sake, mainly for like my sake, because it's not good manners in a way, or like very kind to also drag people and like complain and vent here. That's not the purpose of this podcast either. It's not and never will be a place for me to vent negative emotions, or like to vent all the negative problems that are going on in my life. That's not the point of this podcast, but it's really just more of trying to be as open, because it is a space for me to share, but like more importantly, it's a space for us to learn like together, because every time I record an episode, this is like my way of also trying to process everything that's happened, and then like pick out what are the main lessons, learnings that I have gained from that experience, and like how can I share this with others too. So that's really like my goal. And so that's kind of what you can expect from this season. Nothing much is going to be drastically changed. I'm not like suddenly going to talk about some weird topics or anything, but I think one thing that will slightly be different is that I'm going to start talking more about just like being a teacher, what that's like, teaching yoga classes, what's that like, having a yoga business, what it's like, just like in general in terms of living a yogi lifestyle, but like a modern type of yogi, because there are many yogis out there who also feel probably like ashamed to share and talk about their experiences as yogis that don't really follow the traditional practices of yoga. And like sometimes there are like people out there in the community that also kind of shame you for not being like really fully a yogist, yogi. That's not even like a real term, honestly. But that's kind of what I also wanted to talk about. Like for those who are listening because they're curious about yoga, that's also, I feel like, one of my main purposes here. That's why I'm here in Iloilo, is to really like share the practice and kind of break stereotypes about yoga too. So this season 3, I'm really excited about just opening up more about my life, about personal things. And I thought of making this like comeback on Christmas. By the way, if you're listening to this, Christmas is over. I'm recording this the day after Christmas Day. So happy holidays, happy New Year, Merry Christmas. And I really thought of doing this now because of how the holidays feel extra conflicting for me. Yesterday was Christmas Day, and I was just like, watching a movie on Netflix as you do on Christmas Day. And I was like crying, super duper crying, because like ugly crying. Because I just felt really, torn between like two emotions. Because it's like I feel happy. I feel so happy that like this Christmas, as I journaled this morning, I wrote down how I'm really happy and grateful that this Christmas I was able to celebrate it the way I wanted to celebrate it. Like I got to choose how to celebrate Christmas and like make my own traditions. And so I felt really good, because this is like something that I'm definitely going to continue and make a tradition for the rest of my life, I hope. And so I was able to celebrate Christmas with my husband's family. And then I was able to finally, for the first time after a couple of years, celebrate Christmas at my family's house. And then on Christmas Day, we just spent it together at home, because of course my husband is now my family with my dogs. And then like we had an early dinner with basically my in-laws, so it was a really nice, simple Christmas. And I loved how we didn't have family come to the house, because it's just also, although like of course they're welcome, but it's also it's so much work to prepare and buy food like at home. And then because now we don't have help, it's a bit extra work to clean up after everyone. It's kind of a lot of work. It's very tiring. So it's like, it's the holidays. This is the time for us to just take a break from all of that. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. But at the same time, it was still very heartbreaking for me. As you know, again, like 2 years ago, I kind of stepped away from my family because of like personal stuff. A lot has happened, and my family, they don't really like approve of my husband or approve of my marriage, and so that's what it is. It's sad, but of course it happens. I think that's one thing that I've learned. So to the girlies out there who might be listening and want to get married, that happens. You're not always gonna be super duper lucky to have either like in-laws or parents that are just in like in good terms and all happy with each other. I mean, that's the ideal scenario, but I've also learned to accept that it's not always going to happen instantly for everyone. And that's something that I just like learned after getting married, because then like I started meeting people who were also experiencing the same thing, or they went through the same thing with their own families. So it's a common thing that not many people talk about, which is why like for me, I always feel like I have to bottle up my experience with that and my feelings towards that, because it's kind of like something shameful in a way, like how I see it, even though it's not really something to be ashamed of, because it's like the reality of things. It really does happen. And so I stepped away from my family, and I never like was able to talk to them or hear from them like within those 2 years. So it was really it was painful. It was really difficult to go through that, because I didn't hear, like, nobody messaged me like happy birthday, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, none of that, or like any congratulations, best wishes when we got married during that time. Nothing, so it was kind of it's definitely sad, it's definitely like it cuts through my heart, honestly. So it was difficult to have to go through that and then carry that with me, especially this year. I think I did talk about this in one of the previous episodes, how this year I was finally willing and ready to reach out to them. It was after like the retreat that I attended, and shout out to teacher Atho, who leads these retreats here in Iloilo, actually in Damire. So anyway, it was nice because we had a cacao ceremony, and that's where I set my intention and then let go of all these like family issues and finally like allow myself to feel like lighter, forgive everything and everyone, including myself, that whole practice. And so it really helped. And after that, I was able to reach out to them. But then I think another thing that I didn't realize right away is that it's like, I guess I hope and pray sometimes that people would have the same kind of forgiveness and kindness that I give them, but I didn't get that at all, like in return. And I understand that not everyone is gonna be the same. People will handle these traumas or these losses, these experiences differently. But I don't know, like, I guess in a way, a part of me was truly hoping that because I made that first move, the effort to reach out first, even though I felt like I was wronged, even though I felt like it wasn't even my fault that all of this happened, it wasn't my choice for it to happen, yet I'm the one who had like suffered the most in this whole situation. And I don't know if they see that, how much like I've lost in this whole situation. Like, I've lost family, I've lost that kind of love and support that I got. All of that like is gone. I kind of really lost it, and it's not like something that I ever wanted anyway. I didn't really want this, but at the same time I also didn't want to lose this relationship that I've had with my partner, with my husband, just because of some rumor or just because of, people's opinions. So it was really difficult. And I don't know if they kind of realized how they put me in such a difficult position to ask someone of that, to choose between this and that, when like in fact there is no choice that needs to be done, So I don't know if they see that. And then the fact that even despite all of this, I still made the first move to reach out. And yet, after all of that, still, I don't get, the same I guess, like, kindness and openness and generosity that I was hoping to somehow receive in return, because of, that's what I'm kind of giving. And I just tell myself that it's also not fair to give and then like expect that, you'll also be receiving anything in return. I try my best not to think of that, but it's like not even like a little bit, not even like, the smallest any decency in terms of this whole situation, knowing that this is what I've been through, nothing. So that was really like the burden that I was carrying with me throughout Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, because Christmas Eve I did spend it with family. And like I was there at home, and for one, like it's also difficult to just like be home and then like not have a room anymore, because like, you don't have a room there. Like my room is there, but like, it's like it's not mine anymore. So I really felt like out of place in this home. And I feel like the silence from my own mom, that I don't hear anything like in return of like, come and spend Christmas Eve here, or how are you? Like I get none of that. I get none of that from her. No, like, how are you at all, ever since like 2 years ago, like nothing. It really, really is so heavy and painful. So I was there like just finding a spot for myself, and so I found myself like in the balcony just sitting and like drinking a glass of wine, and I really was like, emotional, because it's just so heavy for me to be there. And I don't think anyone sees how heavy this is for me and difficult it is for me to face, these people who cannot trust and accept me fully because of the choice I've made, with my marriage. So it's really, really difficult. So that's why, the Christmas season is definitely, it's mixed emotions. And I think that it made me realize, which is why this really pushed me to record this episode, to do this, because I felt like, there are many, many people out there who probably feel the same way, but like in a different manner, especially for those who are grieving, who have lost loved ones and are grieving during the holiday season. I'm sure that this is somewhat what they're feeling too. And like, because it feels that way for me. I really do feel like I'm grieving like my life. I'm grieving my mom. I'm grieving my family who are there and alive, but just like, I like, again, I don't hear much, from them. And it almost feels like as if they are really absent, like as if they really are not around. So that's kind of where I am. I knew that it wasn't right, for me to not at least try to make things work, but at least like I always like ask myself and like think, it just comes to my mind a lot. Like if I had a daughter, an only daughter, I don't think I could ever do what my mom has chosen to do. But I always like try to understand like where she's coming from, like I know it's because, she's worked hard for everything. She just wants me to be happy and to have a good life and like to be successful, all these things. But at the same time, I don't think she sees how like the choice that she's making now is actually like counterproductive to what she actually hopes for me, because of this choice, it's actually like causing me so much suffering and like it's causing me so much distress, and like it's actually like more painful to go through this because it's like she still doesn't accept, this whole thing, where I am now. So it's really sad. It's like, what else? There's nothing else I can do. And last month, I finally, because I really felt like my emotions were just too much. It was just all too much for me. I felt so drained, like emotionally, and I told my husband about this and how I felt like I was just giving so much to everyone around me and realizing that no one was really there to like support me and listen to me. And of course my husband's there, but like I'm a broken record already, and I know he tells me that it's okay, he understands. I can always like open up to him and share these things to him, but at the same time it's also helpful to have like a different perspective. So I finally decided to reach out to a friend of ours from the gym that we go to who actually her husband is a pastor. So I decided to reach out to her because I remember a few years ago when June, my husband, also invited me to talk to them during a time when I was also struggling. And so it really actually helped a lot. It was really nice because, they're very much willing to listen and all and support. So I considered that, given that I didn't really want to, go to talk to a psych or a therapist for now. So I did that, and it was such a good decision to make, because for the first time I really felt like someone was listening, someone just like listened to me, no judgment, someone was on my side. I think that's like the number one thing, is that someone was finally on my side, because someone who's not like part of June's family, or not really like a close friend, because of course I know that there are biases to that, but finally someone who is like a mother figure, someone who's a mom, who just saw me and saw my struggle and understood it. And that really was the most healing thing I could ever do, because that's kind of what I've been lacking and what I haven't had for the past 2 years. It's like just someone who will choose my side and really like ride or die kind of type of, support, because I haven't gotten that from my family at all. Sure, they're there. Sure, they're willing to support. They say, as my mom always says, like, we're just here, we're all that. But it's not the kind of support that I need, So it's been it was just really nice to have someone like be on my side and listen and like make me realize, maybe I'm just very codependent with my mom, and that's something that I didn't even realize. I didn't even think that I kind of like adjust to her and try my best to in a way try to please her, get her attention. But that's for another episode. That's something else. That's something I'm still like understanding and figuring out. But for now, it was really such a relief to have that, because I really felt like, especially this Christmas season, it really dawned on me how I feel like I still am being punished, because of the silence, because of the lack of any sort of like care and authentic support and love. Just like the same kind of love that I used to get in the past. It's all gone. I really feel that that's missing. Like that's really like there's a gap, with that. And it was definitely very like heartbreaking for me to go through that. And that's why, it just makes me question sometimes, like, what else do I do? How else can I mend this? When it's not even my mistake again. I feel like this is always what I have to deal with when it comes to family. It's like, it's not my mistake to begin with, but I'm here having to pick up the pieces, having to mend this, having to fix it, having to like heal myself again and again and again. And it's really like, it really is exhausting. It really is tiring. So for me, I would say that I summarized the lessons that I've learned. And I feel like these 3 lessons have definitely made a big impact. And this is why I feel like I've grown so much. Life is never the same anymore, especially this Christmas season. It really like it solidified how I feel, and these lessons that I can now like hopefully take with me moving forward. Number 1 is I cry. I'm a little emotional, so that's why my nose is like stuffy. But anyway, as a being real and raw, one big lesson that I've learned is really like letting go of just like the life I used to have now, and that although like I've made the first move and I tried, I can never bring back what used to be, and that's never gonna come back. And the more that I just like hope and expect and try to bring it back, the more that I'm just gonna suffer, the more that I'm just gonna struggle. So I have to let go of that. Letting go of the life I used to have with my mom, letting go of the family that is really no longer mine, and that's okay. It's okay, because this is also how I set boundaries that I always talk about. Maybe I should like tattoo get a tattoo that says set boundaries, because that's like always gonna be part of my conversations, everything. Like every podcast, probably I mention set my boundaries. It's kind of annoying, but it's so true. I think especially during the holidays, because it's so easy, especially with my family. Our boundaries are kind of very blurred, very, very, very blurred when it comes to business, when it comes to personal stuff. It's just like very blurred. So I think it's, as I always say, it's for the best that this is what happened, because this was the only thing that really like forced me and all of us to set our boundaries with one another, or at least for me. And it helps a lot, because during the holidays, again, my priority now is me and my now family, like my husband, my dogs, our household. That's where we are, and we're very lucky that even like my in-laws, his parents, his family allow us to have that space just to ourselves, so that we could like build this foundation together. And so, realizing that it's time to let go. It's no use to just hope that, my mom will step up to the mother that I'm kind of needing, because that's not who she is, I guess. I've always needed a mother that is like emotionally present with me, and who will really like in person, be there. And that's kind of, one of the main reasons why I have always, I guess like that's one of the main traits of my partner, of my husband, that really made me stick with him, because of that, because he chooses to put me first above anything else, because he supports me emotionally, and he's present, with me. And he wants to be there, like physically there. And that's something that I didn't get, from my mom. She provided me financially and supported me through many things, but it was all like from afar, all from afar. And that's kind of what was lacking in my life. And that's why, I'm here with my partner now, because that's kind of what he does, in my life. And so that's kind of what I've always been wanting and needing. And I know now that I can never get that from her, and that's okay, and that it's time to let go of just my life, to let go of it all. Again, the more I hold on to it, the more that I'm just gonna suffer. The second lesson that I've learned is really to just learn to forgive everyone. But not in a way that I forget what has happened. I think that because the type of person I am is I easily like forget these things. I forget like what made me angry in the first place, what made me feel a certain way towards a certain person. And I remember when all this was going down, I told myself, do not forget this moment. Do not forget that this is what they said, this is what they did. Because I knew like back then that down the line, I'm gonna forget it and then just like continue on with life with them and like, and then again like find myself in the same situation and then realize like, oh, this is the exact same thing that happened. So honestly, forgive but not forget ever, 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 because I need to, again, it's a reminder for me that I have to set these boundaries. I have to protect my peace now. I have to protect myself now. Like, it's time that I stand up for myself and not, again, like try to make peace so that they are okay with me, but then to the expense of my own peace and my own mental health. Like, honestly, it's time that I put myself first. And again, like, forgive so we can all move forward. Like, again, I knew that it was the right thing to do, to just like kind of make things better so we could communicate, we could stay in contact, but still at a distance, so that I protect myself, I protect my peace, I protect my own happiness, because it's not fair for me anymore. It's not fair for me to put myself through that again. When I know how toxic it was, when I lived that and I was just not mentally okay there, in that situation. So this is for the best that I am out of that, that I'm out of it and I'm here, I can now put myself first. I can now prioritize my family that I am creating, my household and all. Like, I'm here for myself now. And lastly, no matter how forgotten, ignored, unloved, and rejected you may feel, just like how I felt, I think that these hardships, all of this, again, it just brings me back to practicing gratitude every single day. Because for me, all of this that happened, and how despite everything, I chose to step up and be the bigger person and try to understand everyone from their point of view, even though I don't think they understand me from my point of view, and don't even probably give me the chance for that, So despite all of that, I was still the one who reached out first. I was still the one who forgave everyone. My gosh, grammar. I was still the one who tried to make things right, even when not a single one of them tried to make things right with me. Maybe one. I know that, I had my tita in Manila, all throughout, tried her best to just like try to be, unbiased, just neutral throughout the whole situation. I really, really appreciate that, because I didn't get that from anyone else. And it really is painful to just, live through that. But anyway, despite all of that, again, this has also taught me that my love, the love that I am capable of giving, my gosh, it just is so strong, so powerful, that it has the ability to just heal myself and all the wounds that I didn't even inflict on myself, and forgive so many people who have just hurt my core, and really like took so much away from me. And then it's still at the same time be able to do so many other things, like teach and give and give and give, and be there to support others through, Mental Health Iloilo, and still be able to serve my community through, the org that I'm a part of. It's insane to me. that despite everything, yet here I am. I think that's like the biggest takeaway that I've had from this whole situation, is that this is what I'm capable of. Just like a deep love that I don't even get from anyone else around me. And that's something that, I'll have for myself till the day I am gone. And so, wow, that was a very emotional first episode. My gosh. And I just am so happy that I finally got to share that, here and really open up about this. Because again, I felt like I was holding back a lot in the previous seasons, and this is the time. I hope I don't cry like every episode, but I'm gonna make this a fun one, because it's the time where I can just be me and be as authentic as I can be, and just like enjoy this, because I know that I enjoy this. This is like a passion project of mine, doing this podcast. And I know that if you're listening right now, that you're also somehow gaining something from this experience, gaining something from this episode. So that's it for now. Thank you so much, for just your support. Thank you so much for listening and joining me here today. I really appreciate your presence. I really appreciate you being here, and for your support for the Ilonggayogi podcast. I honor you and your presence here today. Share this episode to your loved ones and follow this podcast to stay updated on the next episode. Thank you all. Until the next one. Bye.